Hello, everybody. My name is Sue Attrell, and I'm one of the directors of Restorative Practices International. And I have the pleasure of introducing you today to Kirsty Ferguson, who is also a director on the board. And we're going to just find out a little bit about Kirsty and her connection with restorative work here today. But before we start, I would like to acknowledge the First Nation people on the country that I am recording from, which is Nipaluna, Hobart in Tasmania. Kirsty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Kia ora, thanks, Sue. Ko Kirsty Ferguson toko ingoa. Te Whanganui a Tara is home for me. That's Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And anything else you want to know about me right now?
No, I think we
Right,
can
cool.
go right into the
Nice.
first question. So,
Lovely.
so Kirsty, can I ask you what brought you to restorative work?
Oh, what a great question. And I loved kind of reflecting on that the other day when you sent it through. For me, I come from the education, so I trained as English secondary school teacher, and I moved pretty quickly, kind of sideways, doing a master's of counselling, and so I continued to work in the education sector. And I guess in that role of counsellor, we work sometimes with some really vulnerable kids. And I first came across restorative practice at a conference in the early 2000s, and remember thinking, wow, this is so cool. Because as a school counsellor, I would often think, where is the space for the students to tell their story? What are the responsibilities and obligations of the adults in the education sector in their world to support good decision making and to kind of wrap around when poor decisions have been made, perhaps. So just kind of dived in head first. And I think, and I've said this before, but I think I was possibly innately punitive in my approach myself. And I used to look at my colleagues when I was teaching and think, wow, what are they? What are they doing? They seem to really enjoy their job, and B, had these beautiful relationships with the kids. And so the restorative practice where relationships are front and center of everything we do was just the answer to that, and it made perfect sense for me. And I started, yeah, my very kind of uphill journey at that time, and continue to keep loving and learning about the work.
Ah, okay. It's interesting that you talk about that innately punitive thing because I think all educators have had that experience. We all come from that sort of schooling
Mm.
and we sort of
Mm.
have to relearn, don't we?
Mm.
So, can you tell me about your work now? What drives your current work now?
Well, I guess I had an experience, towards the end of my time in schools where there had been a breakdown in a team of teachers at a school that I had a senior role in, and I remember having that conversation with my colleagues saying, "Look, we're working with our students in a restorative way when things aren't going right for them, and actually we should be working with our colleagues in this way too." So kind of dived into that work then. And we got it was right at the end of the year actually, we got a really good outcome, and everyone went away on their summer holiday feeling, lighter, and also with a plan in place for how things were going to be. So I love that. And I trained then as a mediator. So I guess
Mm.
yeah, come to this work with that restorative foundation, and also with as a registered and accredited mediator. I've worked for the last, gosh, 8 or 9 years, specifically with in workplaces, looking at resolving workplace conflict, and I love it. So the question was, what drives me, Sue? Was it?
Yes, what drives your
Yeah.
current work? You know,
I
what's
think,
driving it at the
yeah.
moment?
So when people are in conflict at work, it creates a huge amount of distress. It impacts enormously on well-being, but also on productivity, engagement, and the wider workplace community. And when people are stuck in conflict. I mean, they're stuck because they haven't been able to have the skills to unstick it or to be able to have those important conversations. And so when we first might meet with someone and have those individual conversations and just to see that level of distress and harm and upset, we spend a lot of time at work and when relationships aren't working well. So to be a part of the solution, to work alongside, to work with, to co-collaborate in a workplace environment to resolve the issues that have emerged, it's really satisfying and quite empowering and there's a lot of learning that goes on in that space. So it's nice to be a part of the solution and to work with, and it feels like a real privilege to journey alongside people at some really difficult times of their life. Yeah.
Mhm. Thanks, Kirsty. So maybe a bit more of a personal question. Where do you call home, and what's important about home to you?
Ah, lovely, lovely question. So home for me, I'm in a little bit of a transition space right now. So we moved from Te Whanganui-a-Tara over to the Wairarapa, which is it's always been a special place for me. It's where my grandparents lived, and I spent a lot of time as a child there. And my little whānau's had a piece of land there now for over 20 years, and we're just extending that now. We it seems a real, privilege to have a piece of land, and we have been doing a big kind of restoration job on it, and with using permaculture principles and growing a garden and it's just a magical space, and it's a space of for me of real peace and calm, but also a space that's shared by many people. So we've got I think the most precious times have been when we've had people that have come and used the space for their own needs, but certainly to stop and rest and recoup. So that's about home for me and where I'm going to be a little bit more. But Wellington will always be a very special place. And again, I've been pretty lucky living on Mount Victoria and having Oriental Bay as a place to swim, and networks are free, and so home is where friends are, home is where my family are, and home is where I can have the space to be creative and yeah, put something back into the earth.
Yeah, gosh. So I guess that sort of leads me to this last question, and in a way, you might have answered some of this, but perhaps this there might be more that you want to say. So, what are the things that are most important to you, and the things that fill your heart?
Well, I can tell you the things that are ripping my heart to bits right now, and that is a kind of the political situation in Aotearoa, New Zealand. That is, I think we're just, watching on the kind of destruction of a whole lot of things that are really important and fundamental foundations for Aotearoa. So that rips me to bits. So part of I think that question is about is not being passive in that space. So it is being involved with action that communicates that we want something different. So being an active participant in shaping the kind of future that we want to be on a political level. And it's also, friends and family are very important for me. Food and gardens and manaakitanga are those things. So as well as, going bush, tramping, cycling. Yeah, not quite enough time in the day to do all of those things that I want to be doing, but being out in the world and out in nature is most definitely a very sacred and special place for me.
Kirsty, I want to thank you sincerely for sharing so much about yourself and the things that are important to you and the sort of the work that you do. And so we'll finish up here and thank you again.
Thank you. It's been really lovely to chat with you. And yeah, ka kite anō.
which means
Oh, farewell. See you again.
just checking.
Yep.
Thank you.